Okay, being a skeptic is a little bit of a balancing act. Okay, it's like being atop a hill and you have pitfalls to either side that you will tend to. Okay, the further you go off the hill, it takes energy to get back to skepticism, and you'll tend to keep going off the hill. So, on the one side, you have nihilism, a sort of degenerative cynicism that calls itself nihilism. It's not possible to really believe nothing. If you get down there, nothing, if it were real, is still well below you. But we call this nihilism because of the perennial doubt that it's possible to have due to skeptical arguments lead to an overabundance of doubt. But what people all don't, these are the famous slippery slopes of skepticism on this side. But what a lot of people don't understand is the skeptics also assent to what appears to be the case. Okay, and that lends itself to slipping down these other slopes into positivism, because assenting to what appears to be the case means judging evidence for evidence that seems good, that feels good. So ultimately, you are going to be following things that feel good and assenting to them because they feel good and accepting them because of that. And you can slide into a positivism. And it takes energy to get back into this balance point between the two. Okay, now this is distinct from a dogmatism. In a dogmatism, you're in a local minima. Okay, you're in a local bottom point where, not necessarily literally, because the terrain, this metaphor, you know, is all about the terrain is complicated. There are lots of local and sublocal minima and maxima. But in principle, you're at a local minimum, some idea that tends to stay the same. And, when you climb out of that, it takes energy to get away from it, and it's easy to fall back down into it. And that's the basic difference. Now, I'm willing to see things sort of like this, that I showed the dogmatists climbing out of the local minima, and I'm willing to say that this dogmatist is not lower or higher than me, but just that the terrain is different, and that whether you're skeptic, you might be in an area near the dogmatist, but a kind of skeptic because you're on a local maxima, balanced, overlooking a terrain that's always a subterrain. You can see there's this peak here. That is a higher point. That's another skeptical point. The dogmatist will get there at first, the way this is shown. Okay, I've also shown, here's a peak here that, a local minima that would be dogmatic, but it's higher than the skeptic. So we're separating these questions from like some sort of enlightenment of getting the highest ground where you have the best view. But we're talking about whether it takes energy to keep this point of balance, or whether it takes energy to leave this point of balance. Because since they're both points of balance, the local minima and the local maxima, they're both points of balance. So when we talk about them, we could make the mistake of ignoring this important difference of what it takes to leave that point. Now, because the skeptic is balanced like this, it's good for them to, keep their reference points and look at the other peaks around. We can fall into cynicism. A good partnership for skeptics is with cynics, because a cynic, well, not a nihilist, questions things from maybe a pessimistic point of view. But they sort of cover that. I personally do not want to have to dwell on the rejectionist side of things more than need be. I've done plenty of it. So I'd rather go towards this positive slope, because, see, you don't want to live at the summit. You want to go there. I want to have access there, but it's a place for contemplation. It's a little bit windy. One's exposed to the elements up there. When you get a place to live, you want to build some house down the mountain a little ways. And And I'd rather do it on the positive side of the mountain. Partnership with a cynic means I don't have to explore that side of the mountain, the slippery slopes. Now, I think all the slopes of this mountain are traversable, but they are a little bit tricky for some people, especially. Probably didn't hear that the way this mic works, but somebody's having an issue now. It's not thinking about philosophy. Okay, cheers.